Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Intuitive Angling's Mental Monday, and really appreciate you guys checking the video out. And all you regulars to the channel, you guys know what's going on here, but if it's your first time on Mental Mondays, this is something we do every Monday. Usually doesn't have anything to do with fishing. Sometimes it does, but anyway, it's a chance just to sort of get everybody thinking, sort of stretch your mind a little bit. So welcome everybody here. Today, guys, we're going to be talking about the lure of sort of like propaganda and alternative facts. Now, we've touched upon this a little bit before, but I really want to get into some deep detail on this as far as what is the attractiveness to some people that sort of live in a pretty obvious denial of reality, and sort of, maybe have a good conversation on that. Be curious to get your guys' opinion too. But anyway, let's start out a little bit. I'm a really big World War II historian. I've had all my life, anytime I see a World War II veteran, I try to, always strike up a conversation with them. They're dwindling fast, their numbers, and all of them are close to 100 years old now. So I really try to talk to them anytime I can. And I've studied a lot about the war. And one of the things pertinent to the conversation today has a lot to do with Joseph Goebbels, who was basically Hitler's propaganda minister during the 1930s. And the propaganda that Goebbels put out was sort of an attempt to get the German people, or a large enough percentage of the German people, to fall for Hitler's plans to basically conquer the world. And he did this through propaganda and fake talking points and that type of stuff. And the main premise, there was sort of a twofold attack, or not attack, but there was a twofold system that Goebbels used. And number one was not a theory, because it worked for him, it still does today, is that tell a lie, make it big, and tell it over and over and over again. And if you do this enough, there's going to be a segment of the people enough to form a base that believes it, regardless of what it is, even if it's a big lie. And the second aspect of Goebbels' theory on controlling people was to demonize the press, undermine people's trust in the press. And if you did this, if you undermined the press and the media, well, it was the press back then because they didn't have television, but if you undermined the trust of the media in the eyes of the people, and you kept repeating this big lie over and over again, you sort of formed a cult a little bit, is what it was. And that's sort of what the Nazi Germany, the base of the Nazi party was. It was a cult that was created in large part by Goebbels. And we've sort of seen a resurgence in that the last decade in this country here. There's been a lot of those same elements about, telling big lies, repeating them over and over, demonizing the press, and a certain amount of people sort of fall for that propaganda and the alternative facts behind that. Now, why is this? What is it appealing to the human psyche, or to a percentage of the percentage of the population's human psyche, that falls for this? Even though it may contradict, logic and reason and fact. This is one of the things I want to talk about here today, because you can't deny it. It is powerful. I mean, it's extremely powerful, and it's some of the basic premises of cults throughout history, and how people fall for that. And a lot of this has to do, you see this really prevalent today in two different facets. You see it prevalent sort of in a denial of scientific reality, and through politics. Both of those genres out there is where this is really rampant at. And a lot of it has to do, obviously, with control, because a lot of the people that push these alternative facts and sort of the propaganda are out for greed, power, money, and control. That's sort of the way it's been throughout human history. And it's even before Goebbels. I mean, this has been going on forever, where you have a segment of the population that controls the narrative, and enough people believe that, even in light of, facts otherwise. And, one of the things that I see about like this is there's a segment of people out there that they sort of live in denial of scientific reality. And when they see something posed to them, or if something is posed to them that is against their worldview, there's a couple of different things that happen here. And it can be the same with politics. It's like if somebody is aligned with a certain political thought, and there's some evidence or there's some facts or whatever that's posed contrary to that worldview, politically or scientific, there's a pushback where people tend to dig their heels in if their worldview is connected to that deeply. And at that point, they dismiss reality. They try to undermine reality. They try to discredit reality. And most of the time it happens without any facts or evidence. And then it gets back into the whole thing where you have some people that once you present people with facts and evidence contrary to a worldview, they will dig their heels in and insist that that particular evidence, regardless how irrefutable that evidence is simply not true. It's something that it's made up, it's fake, it's not believed. And this is where the waters get muddied. And this is the problem we've had throughout society is there's always been an attack on truth, logic, and reason, reproducible results, scientific data, any theory that goes against a rooted worldview. And it's pretty destructive to our society because what that does is it undermines the majority of the people on this planet, and it puts power and control in the hands of the few. That's what it's all about. That's what it's always done. And what you have with that is a lot of these people that use false talking points or alternative facts or propaganda, they understand what they're doing. And they understand the power of it. They've studied it before. This isn't something that just randomly happens. They know what they're doing, and they are masters at it to a large degree. And what happens is when somebody gets connected to a worldview or a personality cult or whatever like that, if they get connected to it on a deep enough level where their identity and their worldview is connected to that idea or that belief system or that person, they will go down swinging, and they will not deny or they will not give that up for anything. You can sit there and you can say to somebody, it's 12 o'clock during the day, say it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon and there's not a cloud in the sky, and you could say to some of those people, there's the sun right up there, see it? And they'll say, no, that's not the sun, that's something else, that's another planet. They're that dug in to a specific worldview that they will basically, just deny reality to the end out there. And I think what happens with that a lot of times is people are very attached to the security of a worldview. If you've got a worldview that is relatable and comforting to you, you want to protect that at any cost, because if that worldview is destroyed, even through fact and logic, then you have to start all over again. A lot of people have to reevaluate who they are as a person, and that's extremely scary to a lot of people out there. But anyway, I see this pretty prevalent out there. A lot of people understand what I'm talking about, and some people out there, they may be in the silo a little bit, or they may be in an information silo or an information bubble, where they don't see other sides or other points of view with that. But when you deal with something, or I don't care what the topic is, if you have a topic that is backed up by reproducible results, mutual consensus, fact-based theory with evidence that backs it up, not hearsay evidence or not some type of jackleg evidence, but real evidence from a variety of different independent sources. There's a lot of different ways to know if something's true or not. If people deny that after evidence is presented over and over again, then a lot of times you just can't get to those people, because from what I've seen in my experience, there's a segment of people, and it was the same back in Nazi Germany back in the 30s versus it is now or throughout history. There's a segment of the population out there that will deny it to the end. That's just a part of the human psyche. I'm not sure what it is. But anyway, guys, there's nothing good about denial of reality. There's nothing good about denial of any type of reality. It's like when you do that, it diminishes the human experience. It not only diminishes the human experience, but it puts power in the hands of the few. And there's never anything there's never anything bad with the truth. I mean, the truth is sometimes harsh and people don't want to accept it or believe it, but you can't live in denial of reality. You have to live in a fact-based, truthful world, even if it's painful for some people to break down those barriers. Because, I mean, back to Nazi Germany, there was people that stood by Hitler till after the war. They were so sucked into that, everything that Goebbels did, to get them locked in, that they never gave it up. So there's a segment of people out there that's sort of like a personality cult a little bit. That's just the way it is for whatever reason. When you figure, if you got people like, I don't know if you guys remember that Jonestown massacre, that Reverend Jim Jones, that he talked, I can't remember, hundreds of people into drinking poison Kool-Aid because he said something was going to happen. When you are dealing with certain people that understand the influence that certain words and propaganda have, that you can actually make them commit suicide, you can see how powerful that is. It was the same in World War II in the Pacific. I mean, a lot of the Japanese, when the Marines landed and attacked and invaded Okinawa, one of the final battles of the war, a lot of the Japanese high command told the civilians that the Marines, if they caught them, they were going to kill them and torture them. And as a result, a bunch of the Okinawan civilians and people, they committed suicide. They jumped off cliffs, because it's propaganda. So you can't ever deny or discount how powerful, people's words are that come from people that they respect or admire or look up to for whatever reason. So anyway, just wanted to run a few thoughts by everybody on that. Hope you guys are having a good day, and we'll talk later.